Well, I'll tell you the thing about New York, and this is what I love about growing up in New York. It's the greatest education in the world because you are out there, right? So going to high school, I rode the same bus and train that my mother rode, going to work. Like, you commute and you're amongst people. I always say, like, New York is the hardest place to be a racist because you walk down the block and you're like, there's a Dominican, there's a Puerto Rican, there's a Cuban, there's an Italian, there's a Jewish guy, there's a Greek guy, there's a this, there's a gay one, and how do I hate all of them? I can't even think of enough names to get that block. New York also has a love-hate relationship with itself. New York is like the big brother, right? Like the Yankees or the Mets. You love your team, but you also hate your team. Like, I could be a Met fan and I can hate the Mets, but let the Phillies come to town. And then you know what I mean? Like that, it's like family, right? Where you can pick on your brother, but don't let anyone else pick on your brother. That kind of thing is New York. I grew up in Southeast Queens, where rap was all around me. Run DMC, LL Cool J, Tribe, they all came from Southeast Queens, and big thing. My mother was like, go to school, and I was like, if I hung out on the corner, I'd have bought you a house by now. But no, education. I just hung with them rappers. But anyway, I've been doing comedy for about 1.5 years, and I got a shot on the Apollo Comedy Hour. So I live in LA. I got to go to New York. The New York comics could not have been cooler. I get there, they're like, yo, man, we'll take you around, We'll let you do some spots. Now, the Apollo Comedy Hour is a TV show, so you have to do it clean. This is in 94, 95, at the peak of the Def Jam era. Crowds don't want to hear nothing clean. I go into the proper. I try to run this clean set for the Apollo. They didn't just boo me off the stage. They booed me out the door onto the sidewalk. They were like, I was booed literally out of the building onto the sidewalk. That was a painful bomb. Now, the victory was when I did my set at the Apollo, I killed. And I'll always remember the first joke I did, because they told us, you got 30 seconds. This wasn't the amateur thing, this was a booked show. But they said, you got 30 seconds to get this crowd or they're gonna hate you, right? So I go out there, I said, man, I grew up in New York, I live in LA. If I was a rapper, I have to shoot myself. And I was like, got him, it's got him. And then they're with you for the rest of the set. The new New York is more sanitized. Times Square has been sanitized. Jimmy Breslin, who was a famous New York reporter back in the, 70s, 80s, whatever. But he was one of those like New York guys. And when Disney came in and cleaned up Times Square, he was like, Times Square was never meant for children. Like, let's keep the dirty peep shows and the prostitutes and make it like it's supposed to be. That's New York. Mets. I grew up in Queens. It's lifelong. Okay. You know how you become a fan? Your family. Like, I'm a Met fan because my mom was a super Met fan. If you grew up in Queens, you were a Met fan. And my father was from Honduras, and he came to New York in 1939. And he used to tell us, he said, listen, New York, it used to be boroughs because you had the Yankees in the Bronx, you had the Giants in Manhattan, and you had the Dodgers in Brooklyn. And that usually was the World Series between 2 out of those 3 teams. So if you can imagine that much rivalry within one city. Yeah. So if you're a Yankee fan, your dad, your mom was a Yankee fan, your grandparents were Yankee fans. It's family, you know what I mean? It's literally a generational thing. And if you were from Queens, the Mets were Queens' team. The Mets were set up in Queens after the Dodgers left Brooklyn. So the Mets became the team for people from Queens. The Wall Street Journal wrote a thing about these teams are comics teams because comics like failures. Comics comics don't want to be a Yankee fan. Like, you go to a Met game, right? There's Seinfeld and George Wallace and Bill Maher and Jim Brewer, and all these people are Met fans because the Mets are the loser team. Like, that's what comics like. It's Alonzo Bodden. You can find me on Instagram at ZoFunny, ZoFunny, which is also somehow connected to Threads and Facebook. I don't know how it works. It's all connected. Just look for ZoFunny. You'll find me.